Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bobby's Cryptid Corner, where we talk about all things creepy, cryptidy, weird, paranormal, folklore-y, mythy.
Mythy. Is that a word?
Yeah, mythy.
It's mythy.
Listen, we make up our own words here, and when we do that, we drink. That's the thing.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, if this is your first time viewing Bobby's Cryptid Corner, we drink every time we mispronounce something. That's the other rule here.
Yes, absolutely.
Correct. Up in the top left corner,
Absolutely.
as far as what I can see, we have Tony.
Mm-hmm. I'm you.
Yeah, what?
Because I'm
I
a
am you.
changeling.
Very
Meta.
Meta jokes. Okay.
And then we have the goat over on the right.
What's up?
We have Bibby over here down in the bottom corner of the right.
George C. Scotch.
I love it. And then I, of course, as always, am the Cryptid King.
So funny.
I'm so
Cryptid
hilarious.
King. So funny. What has been new? We didn't have Bobby last week, so happy to have you this week.
Hey, thanks.
We had a good episode last week. It was really fun. This one, I have to say, you guys made me really sad.
Yeah, this was a little bit of a sad one.
I was
full of
sad.
childhood trauma.
I mean,
That's our specialty.
That's our specialty here.
this, that, and the other, but I almost was like, oh, this is like one giant hate crime. Like I was just like, I don't even want to make a video for this because it would just be really gross. Like it's sad. And I think that at the end of the episode, it will come to one of those decisions we have to make of whether or not it's a legitimate cryptid or if it is just something that possibly was misidentified or just unknown for back in the day.
Or just humanity being humanity.
Well,
We're
we've come a
artists
long way.
deep in drinking, so buckle up.
Yeah, so buckle up.
So, in other words, this is going to be like every episode, except this one just hits a little harder
Yes.
than some of the others do.
Why is that? Are we going to find out?
Oh,
I'll just show you what these things are, the changelings.
So yeah, we're
You can refer to them as things.
things. Yes, we're
These
talking
things.
about the changelings, and this is something that I didn't realize the lore went as deep as it did until I started digging into it, and I was like, "Holy crap! There is lore for days on changelings."
For
And
sure.
It transcends so many different cultures, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's all over the world, which is
Wow.
scurry.
Scary.
You don't here's before we get into it, you don't hear about them much anymore.
No.
Which makes me think, just right off the bat, it's one of those kind of old world explanation-y things for the unexplained.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to dig more into what it possibly could be tonight on Bobby's Cryptid Corner.
Yes.
I like everything
Hello.
tonight.
Bring up the next one.
Okay, do you want to just do a really quick shout out maybe to
let's say hi to
in the
everybody.
chat?
Yeah, a Bobby shout out to
Yeah.
We
everybody in the
got
chat.
Vanessa, we got Louise NYC, we got Enzo's here, Spooky, Aaron Desario,
Hey, Aaron.
Kathy Splash, Joe
Long time no
5D, loyal Joe 5D.
We
have
love
Aaron.
Joe.
Oh, we said Aaron already. Sorry, you
Hey,
get
Aaron.
Candy's here. I don't know
Hey,
Candy.
Candy.
Hello, Candy.
Tommy G, the always loyal Tommy.
Hi,
G.
Tommy.
Danielle, of course. Sylvain.
I'm not here.
I think that's it.
Kathy Splash, welcome back.
For
We've
the
missed you
early
so much.
arrivals.
Yeah, it's been a while.
He's
It's been a
chomping
while.
at the bit for another week
Since
of
I
Bobby's
could.
Cryptid Corner.
Yeah,
Yes.
Aaron is coming to Contact in the Desert to meet us. He has his stuff already booked and ready to go. We're so excited.
So is
Oh.
Enzo. So 2 people already in the chat that are
And
confirmed.
did Enzo finally confirm? We can stop our group chat about him.
Enzo's confirmed.
Okay.
Here's what's great about the Tatiwaba audience. Kathy Splash says, I dated a changeling in 2008 for 2 months and I got HPV from it. I don't know if she's being serious or not. It could go either way with your audience.
With our
Jamie
chat?
and Bree.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We do have the best
Hey,
audience ever.
Bobby, guess what? This is also your audience. These are your people now too.
I know.
I know. I'm like still
these
trying to
people's
come
audiences.
Come to terms with it?
terms with that.
Mm-mm.
Joe
It sucks to
5D's
be
loyal
a
like
changeling.
tinfoil.
We love Joe.
Okay, Tony, take it away.
So we have an elf or an oaf.
Off.
And there's a reason why oaf kind of plays into this. But throughout Europe, different versions of human baby appearance, fairies replaced for the humans. So fairies would replace your baby with the, well, I mean, maybe their baby, maybe not their baby. Usually identical. The baby stolen by other fairies. In some cases replaced with a piece of wood, rude, or they're possessed. They have a strange temper. They love milk. They cry all the time. They're angry. They have weird skin or hair in weird places because they're not 14 yet or 13.
Okay.
But the baby never grows, which is weird. And they have a beard and long teeth.
You just described yourself.
Long what? I
There's
think long taint.
Teeth.
It is definitely something I think that kind of changes throughout, but it's definitely like teeth and hair, which is interesting for a baby even. Maybe just like mouth, like I don't know. I can't really think of another reason why it just like needs to just like continuously drink milk. Like,
and just the idea of teeth and hair on its own is really upsetting for some.
Upsetting for anything. Yeah,
Like,
like
you
the
think-
teeth and
like,
hair
you
on an
just
apple.
If you found a
creepy.
box of teeth and hair, it's like not a good sign.
Right.
could you imagine popping out a baby with teeth and it's all when it comes out the womb?
Personal privilege. Since we talk about trauma on this show, I dated a man and he had a shelf in his house that had a bunch of jars with people's teeth in it.
Yeah,
So
that sounds
fucking
about right.
creepy. That's like
Very
a thing.
creepy.
That's definitely something that people collect, which I think is
Human teeth?
Yeah, human teeth. People's human
But the
teeth.
worst part about it is Jamie kept dating him until it got
Right?
real weird.
Can I? You guys want me to be real vulnerable with you? His therapist
I don't
told
know.
him to
Wisdom
break up
filled
with
one.
me, and so he did.
You asked him to?
No, his therapist
No,
asked him to break up with me, and so he did.
Maybe his
And this-
therapist was looking out for you.
I think maybe I don't know, but like
I
that's,
hope so.
I mean, it's a toss-up.
that's a
Right.
true story that happened in my life. I will. Yeah.
I was gonna say, okay, so compared to the guy that collects human teeth, you were the fucked up one.
Yeah, apparently I was the fucked up one. Yeah.
Damn.
You know, Crystal.
To be
Like-
fair, I was young and probably a lot more messed up in my head and not on track. But
Just like the rest of us.
I know. I was like, listen.
This is stable, Jamie. You're seeing now.
Yeah, I'm stable now. That's the thing.
Stable Jamie.
True story.
That's what I'm
True
gonna
fucking
start calling
story.
you.
So,
Stable Jamie.
Hides and long grass is here. All right.
yay. So before we move forward, just to make it very clear, a changeling is when supposedly the fairies interchange your baby for another fairy or a fae. So they snatch the real one. Why would you want a human over a fairy? I have no idea, but
Baby?
that is the root. Yes.
I just want to plant this seed now. We talk about a lot on this show about how high strangeness phenomenon will the descriptions of these things will change contextually with the time, right? So I would argue that UFO is to airship as UFO abduction is to a changeling phenomenon. Like you always, like whenever someone starts to make that argument about phenomenon being based in your historical context, it always goes airships, then it goes changelings for some reason when they're trying to draw it to the modern day UFO phenomenon. So just keep that in mind. Maybe we can find some more motifs as we learn more about the changeling.
You just blew my mind a little bit. I'm in loss. I'm
And
in
you
the loss
and you blew it a
zone.
little early, so now look what you've done.
What?
Look what
I'm
you've done,
trying to,
Bobby.
like, does not compute. I'm like,
Reboot.
I'm
We
a bit
can't
lost.
break.
Fairies
We
visited
can't
me.
break
The
Bree
fairies,
12
grays,
minutes
you
into
know.
the show.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. She's had a rough day.
Okay.
She's had a long day.
I'm always
Joe
having a
5D
long day.
is here. What up?
Joe's my favorite. Okay, so like to bring this a little bit into a scholar's point of view, something that could possibly make more sense, kind of bringing it down to earth first. There
Yeah.
was a very known folklorist, D.L. Ashleman. And so he is from the University of Pittsburgh. And he's supposedly known for being basically like the godfather of folklore and does specify in German folklore. And he compared the overall motif of the changeling kind of reflecting back on what it was like to live in Germany or Europe at that time. And basically, you know, everyone had to really work for what they had. So if you had maybe a child that was considered the weak link, they might not be able to like pull their weight. So you automatically probably think of them as being kind of a burden on the family. And then like the hate crime in all of this is a lot of it doesn't just have to do with the looks of the child, but the behavior. So maybe a little bit more of a challenged situation, which is why if they had different abnormalities that could possibly limit what they can and cannot do, then they can't just be thrown into the workforce like all the other children back in the day. And yes, I heard it. No? Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, like is it like, especially if you had like a farm to run, a family farm to run.
Oh, hell yeah.
We didn't throw our kids through 18 years of government babysitting back then. We put them to work as soon as they could walk.
And you
Not
had a
we.
bunch of kids so that you had a big working force.
And
for
if
your
you're
farm.
trying to survive, I mean, I'm not saying what these people, if this is one of the explanations, I'm not saying that it's like morally justified or anything, but given the circumstances of the time when you're trying to feed an entire family and you have one that's kind of unable to contribute, things like
training
this
wheels
might happen.
Yeah,
sad.
for sure. And it was very particular with poor families, because poor families, everyone there, they're like working to the bone. I mean, this is where child labor basically began. So if you weren't able to like push your 2-year-old out and have them like sort Fruit Loops or whatever, what are they doing?
I don't think they were doing that. They might have been
Obviously not. No, I like Fruit Loops. So this is a quote from him, and he said, "The fact that the changelings' ravenous appetite is so frequently mentioned indicates that the parents of these unfortunate children saw in their continuing existence a threat of the sustenance of the entire family. Changeling tales support other historical evidence and suggesting that infanticide was frequently infanticide. What did I say? Infanticide? Is that not the same? Yeah.
So this is almost like if we're going the infanticide explanation of this, it's almost like a creepy, like tooth fairy meets an abortion clinic situation where it's like we're just going take this child away and tell all the other members of the family like, oh, a changeling took it. There's like a block of wood here instead,
and then murdered it,
like abandoned in the woods somewhere or whatever. The fairies took it anyway.
Yeah, it's very sad to think of your family.
Long grass.
Lord,
I don't want any part of that shit. I'm tiptoeing around this one.
I know I have so many things I want to throw out already, but
I've already talked to him about abortion today.
I don't know if there's a better time to talk about. So yeah, okay.
Keep going, Bree. Keep going.
Agree. We don't have to talk about abortion quite yet.
We're not there yet.
So, if we're just going to think of the fact that they were poor and a really shitty time and most
that's
likely
what you
during
do
a
with
famine.
Oh, hi,
Most
sorry, grass.
likely during a famine of some type, then another child to feed and take care of would just absolutely be a burden. It would be probably just like another chain in the link fence.
Do you think that like this is a story they could tell themselves to deal with like the innate like biological guilt around it as well? Like you would almost convince.
Do we want
yourself
to
in
jump
this
that
reality?
much? I have
was like-
so many theories, and I
was like,
that's
I
what
feel
I'm
like
saying,
that's
I don't
really
know when to
already-
jump into it.
That's already jumping
I
ahead
don't
to the end.
know.
I can go into
Yeah.
that too right now.
Okay,
I
sorry.
have like off the bat, like a million things came to me, like postpartum depression. I mean, like there's so much that contributes to
Right.
this entire story. So I will hold my tongue for now, and we will take our first. Damn it. We'll take our first journey around the world because it does, like Bobby mentioned earlier, this does actually like legitimately touch base on basically all over the world, especially Europe. So in Poland, let's just drink already. This was Zana.
I think that's right.
Fuck yeah. How about Bagenki
Okay.
Yeah.
or Mamuni?
There's no I in that.
I said Mamuni.
Off to the fairies.
Mamuni.
Still not an I in that.
Where do you
I
hear an
think my grass is
I?
on fire tonight.
Mamuni?
Mamuni. Oh, Mamuna.
Crackhead.
Why does that baby look like a milkman? Call a
Okay.
fairy.
Damn it, Mama. Momona. So in Poland, probably better pictures too. That's kind of scary. Is basically portrayed as a female swamp demon. So it is indeed a Slavic spirit with very malicious intentions. And in modern day Polish, literally translates to strange woman. This in my head is already another hate crime. Diswazona. Basically, I don't really know if it's the bush, but lives around the part of like lakes, rivers, streams, where all the foliage is, just like residing under there, under the bushes. But is known to be a very ugly old woman. I put the crone in there because that's what it reminded me of. If we look at the mother, the maiden, and the crone, right, the female trinity right there, it's very much portrayed as the crone. Long stringy hair, and the best part about her is that her boobs were so big that she's known to be like caught right there along the river washing her clothes with one of her breasts.
That's how I do it.
Hot.
Like her boobs a sponge or like a
No, like it's just so big that she could just be like and the friction.
So I'm saying she's like washing it like across it like it's a washboard or something. Like
At least she's doing the
Absolutely.
laundry.
So she's
Maybe
got
she
those-
puts in
she's got
between
those
two boobs.
pancake titties, and she's just wiping it. Wiping.
Well,
her
maybe I'm
clothes.
saying in between, like boob, put
very
the
aroused.
object in between, and just like
when
this,
are we not on
you
the show?
create a friction. I don't know. We're just
Oh my God.
so. And she is known for wearing a weird red hat. That's just like
So wait, what is this woman? Is this woman like, are they claiming that this thing, the big titty mama, kidnaps the babies, or is
So yes, the Balginki or the Mamuna is known to exchange human babies while they're
Goodness
still
gracious.
in the cradle, and these babies are known as the changelings. So the changelings that she replaces for the humans are known to be like wild looking babies. Their heads are either extremely small or very enlarged. Always some kind of crazy ass teeth going on, a very large abdomen compared to other babies, a hunchback, long claws, and again with the hair, just all over the body.
What if this is some sort of like weird human trafficking scheme from back in the day? So you have like big titty mama in the woods, and she collects all the abandoned children out there, but like she doesn't want she wants like legit ones. She doesn't want like the ones that were abandoned. So she takes the already abandoned ones and trades them out for real children in the village, and just has a whole brood of like real, capable children, and gives the unwanted ones back to random families. And Big Titty Mama has a whole brood of servant children.
But like, what do they do for her? Like, does she eat them? Does she do they grow up into adults? Like what do they
for her?
Does she like murder them with her tits? Like, what's her vibe?
I think they're like a whole school of first it's her scratching some sort of weird primordial itch because no one wanted her because she's a weird old lady that's been shunned to the woods.
That makes sense.
Sweet, succulent, clothes washing.
It makes me very sad.
Yeah, so what she does is she takes the children and like trains them to do tricks and like farm the land,
like a circus,
and like they're like, do some cartwheels, kids, and like because they're all capable, right? Because she's replaced the unwanted children back to the village. Anyway, that's just one theory.
Oh, wow,
I like to throw theories out there.
Me too. I like
it.
Yeah, so in Poland, the changelings are known for being her children. So the same thing continues when you have a changeling. It's just a matter of who's giving it to you. So like the overall traditional changeling in Europe is considered that the fae, the fairies, are the ones that are changing. And in this case, it's not. It's Mamuna, who is a big pretty lady that's like switching her cuckoo kids out. It seems like a big hate crime, though. It's just like, okay, so
it was a different time. You had to kidnap kids and hit them with your titties sometimes. I know we don't do that anymore.
How sad. Get her breast from the fridge. Is that what I just read?
Beers.
I can see this being a news story.
My mind just jumped and thought that it read breasts. That's really great. Okay, I think actually we're gonna move on to the rest of the world. Unless there's any last minute thoughts.
Oh no, I'm sure I'll have more later though.
More breasts? Okay. All right. More breasts. No more breasts.
No more breastises. So medieval Scandinavia. This is so if you don't know what Scandinavia is, it's what we call Norway and Sweden, all the weird places where it's way too cold.
They're known for ABBA and
Blondes.
That's it. ABBA.
Blondes.
Yes.
In medieval Scandinavia, it was believed that trolls considered it more respectable to be raised by humans than by their own kind for some reason. I know, right? And would consequently seize the opportunity to give their own children a human upbringing. Some believe that trolls would only take unbaptized children, which is kind of, I mean, no, now thinking about it, I understand because trolls can smell Christians and will eat them according to troll lore. Yep.
Oh, when did you do trolls?
Are you saying that they give up their children to more affluent families to raise them because they're trolls and they want their kids to have a better life or something?
I think that's what they're hinting.
Yeah, that still happens today in the world. Like you go to a third world country, people will be like, pull you in a corner of a street, be like, "Hey, take my baby." Like, please.
That's so fucking sad, though. I would imagine trolls would be happy of their heritage.
I have a friend who was more or less like I wouldn't say kidnapped, but like his parents went to like Guatemala or something, and like
yes,
was given to them by his biological parents.
Oh my god! So he's wow.
It's like a reverse anchor, baby.
He's from Guatemala.
It's just like, hey, there's no life for my kid here. Please take
Guatemala.
I wonder if there might be something similar going on here. If like we consider like poor people of medieval Scandinavia as like the dirty trolls of the woods, and they want to like give up their children to the more like affluent families. You know,
Yeah.
there might be something
Absolutely.
to it. I'm just
Mhm.
riffing.
Come down
I'm
to
just,
What if it's not?
throwing shit at the wall.
Yeah, what if it's not trolls, but these people who look like homeless and shit? Like, look at that. Like, what if that was just a normal sized person that they exaggerated in their stories? And that's
Right.
exactly what it is. They were just giving their poor kids to the more affluent ones because they knew that they would have a better life.
Who is shunned to the woods, like the undesirables, and that goes for
Exactly.
like physically undesirable as well. So like
Yeah.
Right.
you hear about stories about trolls and ogres and all that shit, and like I know it's not politically correct, but I think that there's a solid case to be made that is really just people,
Yeah.
real people that were like ousted from society, that made weird lives for themselves as weird baby stealing hermits in the woods of Scandinavia.
So
Or
fucking
wherever.
sad. They're like,
Right.
you're fugly. Go to the woods.
Go to the woods, you.
That's so wrecked. So wrecked.
So since they would only take baptized children, once a child had been baptized and therefore received into the Catholic faith, the trolls were powerless to abduct it.
Oh no.
It's kind of weird,
They
right?
were locked in a priest basement at that point.
Nope, one before this. Bree, wrong slide.
I'm a Catholic, I can say that.
Okay. This one.
This one, yes. Beauty in human children and young women, particularly traits which evoke brightness or reflectivity, such as blonde hair and blue or silver
I was gonna say
eyes, which is what you get in Scandinavia, are said to attract fairies as they perhaps find preciousness in these traits. Also, Jeffrey Epstein was real fond of those as well. Young women.
Of what?
I
What
would
thing?
argue that most of humanity, I really would argue this, majority of humanity, I truly believe, happens to be like the ideal appeal of someone is like a blonde, blue-eyed girl.
That's racist.
I think
I
that's
feel like
true.
that's been like a thing
Most
over
racist
time,
I've ever
though.
heard in my
Yeah,
life.
like it's unfortunately what society, a large chunk of society, deems as like very gorgeous and beautiful.
Maybe it
They
came
see
back from these days. Maybe they
I think
started
it
it.
100%.
Well, there's
did,
there's the whole thing about the Nordics, like the Nordic aliens and how they're
Mhm.
like,
Yes.
Yeah.
And these
if
are
they're, like,
basically Nordics.
descendants. You're right. Like, yeah, I mean, there's literally, but like,
Okay, Hitler.
Right.
Exactly.
go back to Argentina.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
No, but I think
but
that's a fact.
there definitely is some sort of like innate aesthetic
Major.
attraction to like
Yeah.
blonde hair, blue eyes. Not to get
Yep.
too genocide-y.
No, but the majority of people seem to like that, especially in
I
the
like
States.
Brazilian broads.
Ooh, okay.
Bobby
I
likes
don't
big
care what
butt.
anyone else likes.
Not true,
Jeez.
Night Gazer. We'll get into that later.
Some other time.
Here they
Okay.
go again.
All right,
I'm
let's
telling we'll get into it. It's true. Yes, they are.
Let's
We'll
off
get
of
into it.
eugenics for a little while.
Okay.
all right, let's
Yeah.
move into Sweden.
Sweden.
Here in this picture, you have a human child raised by trolls. So
Oh, and she's like so cute. I would have thought that was a fairy.
nope, that's actually the human that was raised by the trolls. So this is the opposite side of the changeling, right?
I was gonna say, like, what do they do with the kids that they switch? And like, this is kind of like the opposite side. Like, this is the human getting
Mhm.
raised with all the craziness
Oh
of
my
the troll
God.
world.
Is it
Can I
like
throw
it's-
out before you tell me? Can I guess? Is it that they want to make their kind look more normal?
no,
So they okay.
no. So, but
All right.
the thing is, this is kind of reminds me of like Where the Wild Things Are, that old kids book with the human with all the weird monsters running around in the woods. That's also a story about childhood trauma, by the way. So, in one Swedish
always
tale,
are.
in one Swedish tale, the human mother is
Yeah.
advised to brutalize the changeling, also known in Swedish as a bortbyting. I probably said that wrong, so we could all just go ahead and drink.
Ooh, borch beating.
So that the trolls will return her son, but she refuses, unable to mistreat an innocent child. So there's that. motherly nature going on, despite knowing the child's nature. So she knows it's this hideous monster. When her husband demands she abandon the changeling, she once again refuses and leaves her. He leaves her. Whereupon what's up?
This also reeks of a cover story of like I got knocked up by someone that's not my husband as well.
Yes.
I think Hides in Long Grass alluded to that earlier in the chat.
Was this pre or was this like before or after Jesus? Because
I mean, that's the ultimate not
story?
my kid story, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Okay.
Whereupon he meets their son in the forest. So after he leaves his wife, he meets his actual son in the forest, wandering around free, right? And the kid explains that since his mother had never been cruel to the changeling, the troll had never been cruel to him.
Aww.
So it's like a symbiotic relationship. She feels what the human mother is doing to her troll child.
Oh, so the fate lays within the other family that they switched it with. That's so interesting. And do they know that? Like, is that like common knowledge?
I think
so. They know to treat it well, or do they like? Is it just like they treat it shitty, and then their kid is, and they kind of have no idea?
No, I think this is like a cautionary tale, not to treat your kids like shit. Which
that doesn't seem on
it's
point
not.
at this time.
But
I'm gonna go ahead and say that's not the case.
But then also think about situations like this. Like, let's say like your village was like burned and pillaged by a neighboring tribe or kingdom or whatever. And then there's like they didn't happen to not kill everyone. There's a few like kids left over. And those kids left over in the village amongst the charred remains of their friends and family have no choice but to go live in the woods amongst the trolls and fairies. / homeless people.
Right.
I think this is the only happy part of this entire story.
So since
what I just said.
Yeah. So the troll mother had never been cruel to this child, the human child that they stole. And when the human mother sacrificed what was dearest to her husband, they had realized they had no power over her and released the kid.
Damn. Okay. That is definitely like the fairy tale side, right? I mean, that's like, did we make this up to feel better about what everyone was doing?
That seems to be the logical explanation.
Or I mean, like Sweden's just cool. Like we all know that, right? Like when we think of Sweden, we just think of they're just like, hey, just over here doing our thing.
Super neutral there. Yeah.
Back in the day, though, they like were raping and pillaging the North Seas. They were all Vikings and like.
I mean, that was kind of everyone though. It was a rapey and pillagey kind of time.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean they were the Vikings like.
All right, are we ready for the next one?
We are, Bobby. I think this is all you.
All right.
This
Speaking
photo
eugenics,
I found and
let's talk
could
about
not
Germany.
use it. I was like, or could not use it. I was like, this is hilarious. I don't know why I thought that was so funny.
So
right there.
Germany, this looks like a Faith No More album cover or something. The Germans. They have their own version of the changeling, but of course, in true German fashion, it is known as a Wuschelbolg, or a Wuschelkind, or a Klickloff, or a Dickkopf. Dickkopf. That's a good Kopf. I took German in high school. Let me see if I can pronounce it.
You can do it. I have faith in you.
Wuschelbolg.
God, who would choose to take German? Like
Weichelkind?
Kind means child.
That just raised a red flag in my book.
What? Did I know German or tried to? Hold on. I want to look up.
Yeah, she doesn't like it.
Real quick. I'm sorry.
Don't flack with the Germans.
Okay. We took in German.
I'm just kidding. Going back to Sweden. Avidazen.
Avidazen.
Oh, it means exchange. It translates to exchange child.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Teal Pulf.
You might want to. It might be also known as a changeling. The last two, the Kleinkopf and the Dickkopf.
I think
just
Dickkopf. I think Dickkopf translates to dickhead.
I like Dickkopf. I like that.
Yeah.
Dickkopf. Dickkopf.
Well, speaking of dickheads, it's supposed to have huge necks and heads of changelings, whatever that means. So in Germany, there were a whole plethora of methods on how to actually identify a changeling and to return the replaced child. So if you realized that you had a changeling, there was ways in which to do the old what's the test in Blade Runner called? I can't think of it. Where you try to figure out if an AI is really they talk about it in the news.
If a replicant is a replicant.
Yeah. What is that? I don't know. You know what I'm talking about though.
Yep.
And he's like, you see a tortoise walking in the desert. Blah blah blah. Anyway, these are some deep cuts. So confusing the changeling by cooking or brewing in eggshells. What?
Yes.
This will okay. So you cook the changeling in eggshells, and what this does in true German fashion, I guess, it will force it to speak.
Stop.
Claiming its real age, revealing its position beyond synchronicity. So basically, if you waterboard a child in some eggshells, fucking Guantanamo Bay style, it will eventually confess to being a changeling and tell you where it's from and how old it is.
Yes. That's probably the worst thing is like through all these stories, the abuse that they would give these babies. It's like if the baby cried, they took it as like it admitting that it was a changeling. That makes no sense. Like, is a baby really, not going to cry?
All of this reeks of humans rationalizing, like murdering and hurting their own children.
They were.
And chalking it up to like the spirit world or whatever.
It's the most, the worst thing is disgusting. This is the most German shit you will ever fucking hear. If you've ever read the Brothers Grimm, like the actual Brothers Grimm story.
Thank you, Sarah.
Fucking on point with it.
So another way
you're
you
not
could
shadow banned, we are.
That means you're doing something right. You're over the target, ladies.
I guess.
So the other way you can identify a changeling if your child's a changeling is you heat it in the oven.
Oh no. You guys.
Back in the day, they should have noticed this was foreshadowing.
The other way you could do it, there's a couple other ways. You can hit and whip the changeling. I guess you would just whip a child until it behaves or admits it's a changeling. And if it's a changeling, you're justified in like abandoning it in the woods or trying to return your like you think about like, okay, we didn't know much of anything about like child psychology. So say you got a bad egg. So you just got like some kid that's like just fucking a real pain in the neck that is going to be a real burden on your family come the winter when you don't have enough like food stored up because you're dealing with your crazy kid that needs to be medicated. You can whip them, you can put them in the oven, you can brew them in some eggshells and get them to confess to being a changeling. And then granted, you're then able to, here's another one. Sometimes the changeling has to be fed with a woman's milk before replacing the children. That just seems like fun German stuff. That doesn't seem like it has any actual use. They're just like,
they just want to watch.
I recently learned that you can whip breed.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. Had to have that.
So in German folklore also, there's several possible parents are known for changelings, and those are the devil. Okay, there's the devil.
Of course.
This was believed by not Martin Luther King Jr., but Martin Luther, as in the Protestant Reformation guy that nailed the thing to the church. And they advocated for killing changelings. Here's a different time. A female dwarf, and I'm not sure if they're talking about a mythological dwarf or like
they're not.
They're not
a little person. They're talking about a little person.
Mhm.
Yes. That's why
An
the whole thing is a
actual,
fucking
like-
hate crime.
Okay. You can't apply the PC moral superiority of today on people in a different circumstance.
I
They
like
didn't
to
know.
judge them. I don't care.
Okay. It could be a water spirit. You like water spirits, Bree, right? You're into water
I am a water spirit, but
Yeah, there it is. I knew it.
still,
Mhm. Just go ahead and
listen.
get ready to drink.
Put it under
And
any
then
layer you
have
want. You're
the
still causing harm.
Rogan Mume or the Rugenmutter, which means rye aunt or rye mother. I'm not even going to extrapolate some sort of German anti-Semitism from this one, but it's possible. This is a demonic woman living in cornfields and stealing human children. So it could be a whole bunch of things in Germany. I'm glad there was no like shit involved in this explanation.
Does anyone else? Does anyone else's sector of the world get dark like that or no?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Okay,
Oh,
because I was
dark.
gonna add, but if more is coming,
Oh, it gets dark. We're not
It gets
done.
darker than this.
Yeah,
hey,
we're not
speaking of
done.
Children of the Corn, I hear that another one's coming out.
Yeah,
Wait,
they're doing a
what?
remake.
Thank you again, Sarah. Love you.
Thank you, Sarah.
So as we
All right.
move on to outside of Europe,
Dun, dun, dun.
We just ended it where?
now we're in Africa. The Igbo people of eastern Nigeria traditionally believe that a woman who lost numerous children, whether stillborn or early in infancy, was being tormented by an Agbanji, a malicious spirit that reincarnated itself over and over again. So that's just kind of really fucked up if you think about it.
What's it
So-
called? Oh, Bonji?
Oh, it's Agbanji.
Agbanji.
So this is a spirit that is tormenting a woman by she's getting pregnant and then it purposely
Having
dies.
still babies. Okay.
And then
Miscarriaging.
over and
Or at least
over and
that's the
over again.
reason.
Right.
She doesn't keep a pregnancy, so there must be some type of spirit.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
So one of the most common prescribed methods of ridding oneself of one of these was to find and destroy its iwi ua, a buried object tying it to the mortal world.
Oh.
So kind of like some supernatural shit where you got to like burn the bones to kill the ghosts, right?
Super culty.
Mm-hmm. Many scholars, those are people with degrees, now believe that the Ogbanji stories arose as an attempt to explain the loss of children with sickle cell anemia. Even today,
There it goes.
infant death is common among children born with severe sickle cell anemia, especially in areas of Africa lacking adequate medical resources.
Oh,
The
man.
similarity between the European changeling and the Igbo Agbanji is so marked that the Igbos themselves often translate the word into English as changeling. The Abiku was a rough analog of the Agbanji among the related Yoruba. Why did I fucking pick myself to read
Yoruba.
this? Peoples of west of Igboland. Wow. It doesn't get better from here, just so everybody knows.
Oh God, it's exhausting.
So sickle cell anemia it can be deadly if not treated properly. And it is something that is genetically predisposition to people who are from Africa. Just like hypothalassalemia. God damn it. Hypothalassalemia is endemic to people with my genetic background from the Mediterranean, which is like sickle cell anemia, except it's a genetic adaptation to malaria, but you can still die because you have this genetic adaptation. So,
Jesus Louises. I mean, it seems like there's some areas where it's not as bad, and they like kind of sprinkle a little bit of like, and then no. Overall, I think we're seeing a theme of disability, birth defects,
Scapegoats.
scapegoats for sure, some type of mental incapacity, something like that.
Human trafficking by Big Titty Mama.
Possibly. I would be really interested to know if there is a history of human trafficking that you could go back and like track, like where did it begin, like who started it.
That's the
they used to call it slavery.
Yeah, that shit's been going on.
I don't know why I said that. I think I was thinking more like sex trafficking.
Oh,
Yeah,
they did
forever.
that too.
That's a number one.
It's a little bit loose though.
It's why it's called the oldest profession.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I guess we should never be out of a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are we next? Are you next?
Yeah, what's next? It's after Africa. Ooh, okay, it's me. We're going to talk about Spain. Yes, northern Spain. And I'm going to say lots of things wrong, so whoever wants to push that button to drink, go for it. In Asturias, northern Spain, there is a legend about the Xana. They are a sort of nymph who live near rivers, fountains, and lakes, and sometimes they are known to help travelers kind of like on their journey, like if they need something, run out of things, stuff like that. They often are described as little female fairies with supernatural beauty, small and slender, with long blonde or light brown hair, and it's usually curly.
This girl right here with her titty out.
Exactly. The Xana would take their own like offspring, children. Like it's kind of hard to explain because they're only female versions of them, so I'm not quite sure how they reproduce. But they call them the Xanoses, and they would swap them for the human children. One legend claims that it was so that the children would be baptized. So they would, like we were saying in one of the other ones, they would purposely pick a baby that hasn't been baptized yet, so that way that their offspring thing could be baptized. And then different and then a different legend, it says that because the Xana can't produce milk, so they switch it out so that their baby can live. Okay, and here's where it gets weird. Go ahead and bring it back up again because you're going to start to see threads of all these other stories in here. So the legend says that in order to tell a Xanu baby from a human baby, you need to place some pots and eggshells. We got the eggshells back again next to the fireplace. And if the non-human Xanu thing saw this, they would proclaim, "I was born 100 years ago, and since then I have not seen so many eggshells near the fire." And if they said that, then they would obviously know that it was not a human baby.
Why does it have to be that phrase? Like
that specific phrase. Yeah. That's what like the quote. Yeah, and some pots.
Yeah, and your infant starts talking, you're going to be like,
Yeah.
Well,
it would just be so flabbergasted by eggshells.
Yeah. Like,
it'll give itself
should I
up.
punt this motherfucker across the field, or what's going on right now? Childhood trauma.
No, for real. The whole egg thing is interesting. If you even take it to like other occultish things, you know, there's always like an egg thing involved in order to tell if something's like evil or whatever.
Yeah, and this isn't even the end of the eggshell thing.
Oh, that's
Spoiler alert.
It's also like a weird theme of like fertility or like offspring, the egg, the eggshell,
French,
the weird baby, the lactating mamas.
Ooh, lactating mama. I put this in. Oh, never mind. I'm not going to address it. Forget about it. On to the next.
So moving on.
Wales.
We have a place called Wales, which is in England.
Isn't that where KARI is from or wherever?
In Wales.
Yeah, some shit like that. They just like to eat fucking
close
baked
enough.
beans or
fucking
something.
beans. I know showed us that beans in
Beans
a fucking
and
coffee
toast.
cup the other day.
Yeah.
Don't knock it till you try it.
It's just, I mean, they don't even put bacon in their beans. They're just so fucking dumb.
Anyways, next.
Sure, you
You're
will.
like it's really
Bring,
angry.
bring the slide back up, Bree.
Tell us about whales.
We're going to talk about the whales. And not the ones that go, ooh. Okay, so that's Scotland.
You told me to bring it back up.
Yeah. And then
We
you
all saw this already.
Furred. So
Okay.
in Wales, the changeling child initially resembles a human child. This is where it gets kind of weird, right? For which it has been substituted, but gradually grows uglier in appearance and behavior. It's ill-featured, so it like doesn't resemble the parents. It starts to initially it does, but then it starts to get like ugly, I guess. Malformed, ill-tempered, so it's screaming and biting and doing all those other things. It may be less than usual intelligence, so it's dumb. It's like the kid who's like headbutting the goats outside. You're like, yeah, I don't know where that boy came from, but
Me.
but may equally,
Idaho.
yeah,
Idaho.
but may equally well be identifiable on account of its more than childlike wisdom and cunning. I don't know what that means, but
I feel personally attacked.
They give it a little compliment at the end there.
Oh shit! I love that.
the common means employed to identifying a changeling in Wales is to cook a family meal in an eggshell. Now, this is like I read this several times. How do you cook a family meal in an eggshell?
Soup. You can heat up soup slowly with a candle. You could
just heat
make
up
a poached egg. You can make a
A
poached
poached
egg.
egg.
Yeah.
You can't.
But
Not
it gets
poached
even
egg,
better.
like a cooked weird egg.
It gets
Yeah, you
even
can do like a
better.
Scottish egg.
A Scottish egg.
Scotch eggs are so good.
The
What
child.
if it was like a? Sorry, go on.
The child will exclaim, "I have seen the acorn before the oak, but I never saw the likes of this," and vanish, only to be replaced by the original human child. Alternatively, or following its identification, it's supposedly necessary to mistreat the child by placing it, and here we go again, a hot oven, by holding it in a shovel over a hot fire or bathing it in a solution of foxglove.
Come on,
You know, I
guys.
was skeptical about all this, and then
shovel in there?
you told me about the
No.
Scotch version.
They would put the shovel in there until it was like red hot.
And then put
The baby. They would force the baby on it and hold it there.
I mean, I
until
think,
it didn't let
honestly-
it cry or whatever. And what is the plant? Foxglove? Is that what it's called?
Foxglove, yeah.
Which is poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
Bathe the baby in the foxglove. So they were doing things that was causing such severe harm to anybody. But then when the child would show signs of agitation, as any human would, they took it as like
It's
it's
a change.
exercising a demon, basically, you
Mhm.
know, but it's exercising the changeling.
I mean, I think they could have stopped at I've seen the acorn before the oak, but I never saw the likes of this, and just been like, ooh, that's
It
weird.
just makes no sense. It's like, really, if we put if I just feel like there's a lack of I don't know, just plain common sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, like if they were to touch that shovel, they'd probably go, does that mean that they're a changeling? Like that, just the thought process to me is just so out there.
Reverse psychology.
Hypocritical, I think, is the word you're looking for.
Got him.
Got him.
All right, what's next?
So next we're moving into the lowlands of Scotland.
Oh, Scotland.
Before you move on, I think it's also Wales, where after they would do that, and then the child would be like so severely burned, and the child would usually die within a couple of days. They would take it to a crossroads, and so the burnt baby, they would take it to an area where there's a crossroads and leave it there and take it as like, this is the chance, you know, for the changeling to leave and like the real baby to come back. Like it's at a crossroads. And if it dies, you know, and it always died.
If he dies,
It always
he
died. It was
dies.
at 100% rate of dying. It was at 100% rate of dying every time.
But it's like kind of fucked up. But that was their thought process. Like, well, we'll just take it to a crossroads, and
It's
if
fine,
it survives, we're giving it a chance.
Right. So now we're moving on to lowland Scotland and northern England. This is slide 13, by the way, because I didn't put it in parentheses, so I'm just going to read everything. In Anglo-Scottish border region, it was believed that elves or fairies lived in elf hills or fairy hills. I don't know if anybody's ever seen like the fairy hills in like Scotland and stuff, but they're
in
kind of
San
cool.
Francisco.
I mean,
I'm not going to make that fucking joke. I'll make that joke Thursday.
Hey, Thursday's
Along with
fun.
You'd have to be in the area to know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wear your chaps. We're going to Fairy Hill.
Along with
There was Hippie Hill, so whatever.
why not, right? Along with this belief in supernatural beings was the view that they could spirit away children and adults and take them back to their own world of Elfheim. Often it was thought a baby would be snatched and replaced with a simulation changeling of the baby, usually a male adult elf. This is where it gets a little weird. A male adult elf to be suckled by the mother. So this is just like a perverted midget looking for some titties.
Some titties.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, always
He's an
getting the milk.
adult.
Get some milk from the human mother. Very titty wanting.
Did you guys read about that woman that had some sort of growth deficiency that like posed as like a 7-year-old and was adopted?
Yeah. She was from Russia or whatever. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And they
then
had
they took her to the doctor and did
moved to
testing on
Canada
her.
and stuff
Yeah.
to get
away from her. Yeah.
It's like what The Orphan is more or less based on.
Because she was like 7 years old and she was like having her period and they were like, girl, you are not 7 years old. And the doctors was like, she is not 7 years old. She's like 18. What's going on here?
But there was
she was just
all
like a
this,
midget.
There was all these like legal loops that they couldn't get out of the
because they adopted her. And they ended up dropping her off at her own apartment with like money and they paid like a few months rent and they were like, all right, deuces, bye. Literally, that's what they did.
Yeah. Joe 5D brings up a good point. She attempted to murder this family.
Yeah. And so that's what the family claims. And the girl says that she did not do that. But like, she said that she threatened to kill them.
She's probably just looking for a free place to live and a teat to suck on. I mean, isn't that what we all want?
She's
in a family
definitely Gen Z baby.
Greg,
don't hate on Gen Z. We had this conversation yesterday. Leave them alone.
No, the real baby would be treated well by the elves who stole the real baby and would grow up to be one of them, even though they're not really an elf. Kind of like the trolls in Sweden would raise the human. And it would hang out with them and live their life with them. Same thing going on here in Scotland.
Love it.
Whereas a changeling baby would be discontented and worrisome. Many herbs, salves, and seeds could be used for discovering the fairy folk and ward off their designs. It was also believed that in order to force a changeling to reveal itself, it must be surprised into speech. Or made to laugh.
Aww.
In one tale,
they're trying to trick them in all these things, like to get them to know what it is. You trick the baby, and it does something unbaby-like. You're like, oh, baby talk, oh, baby do this, and then it does it. And you're like, oh, you're not a real baby.
It's gonna do something fucking weird.
Yeah.
In one tale, a mother suspected that her baby had been taken and replaced with a changeling, a view that was proven to be correct. One day, when a neighbor ran into the house shouting, "Come here, and you'll see a sight. Yonder's," gotta hate fucking British people. "Yonder's the fairy hill, So
Frank, I don't know what
if you put that into real English, it means the fairy hill is on fire.
Oh, okay.
The fairy hill is flaming.
The fairy's on fire. We don't let no water
Flaming
let the
fairy
changeling burn.
Flaming fairy.
You know how I like
Flaming
my
Fairy
fairy
Island.
hill
Yeah.
flaming.
To this, the elf got up saying, fucking Scottish words. Was me? What'll come o' me wife in bairns? God damn, fucking drink.
Tony could not be.
I don't even know what
Tony
we're looking
could
at.
not be European if he wanted. I swear.
No, I couldn't. And made his way out of the chimney. Why? Why did he go out of the chimney?
Why not?
Why not?
Weird.
Exactly.
Santa Claus.
Why not?
Why not?
So it gets even weirder. So at Byerholm near Newcastle in Lilsdale, sometime during the early 19th century, and I'm going to say this word, but we all know it's little people now. A dwarf called
Midget. Oh,
Oh.
a dwarf
Who's gonna click
called,
the hate crime button? I'm surprised we haven't heard that 15 times this fucking episode.
this is the most hate.
It is guzzling today.
Oh, yes, it is. So a dwarf
Feel like we're on a
called
clan
Robert
meeting right now.
Elliot, or get this, Little Hobby O the Castleton, as he was known. This is how they fucking talked in Britain.
I want a fucking dope name like that.
They're
Little
called the Goat.
goatee,
You'll be fine.
Little hobby of the Castleton.
Little
the
goat, the
little-
goat.
Yeah.
A little goatee of the
little goatee.
Gussel goats. Something. I'm gonna
Oh
think
my
of
god,
it.
you are the great goat of Gilroy.
I'm not I don't hail from Gilroy.
I don't hail from there.
I am temporarily cooped up in my Gilroy castle, but that's not where I hail.
So, Little Hobby O the Castleton, as he was known, was reputed to be a changeling. When taunted by other boys, he would not hesitate to draw his gully, which is a knife. It's a large
Oh
knife.
shit!
I was
But
thinking
that
like
was
that.
something
Yeah.
else.
Bully, a story of a boy being a little person being bullied.
Yes.
I thought he was
That's
exposing
exactly what it is.
himself.
If Factor Sci-Fi comes down to little people, I'm gonna go hard fact because I've seen him.
So, so he draws his gully, which is a large knife. Which I don't know if it's a large knife compared to the person who's pulling it, or if it's just a large knife in general.
A large knife for him because he's a little person.
Right. I mean, it's
It's like a sword. It's like a broadsword
little-
for him.
and he would dispatch them. However, being that he was woefully short in the legs,
Who wrote that?
they usually outran him and escaped. Usually. So that means every now and again he might have poked one or two.
Cut a
kids.
bitch up.
You'll never catch us
Yep.
with those tiny little legs. This is horrible.
Hit him
He
with the
was
Achilles tendon.
courageous, however. He's described as courageous. And when he heard that his neighbor, the 6'3" William Scott of Kerndine, a sturdy, strong borderer, whatever the fuck that is, had slandered his name, he invited the man to his house, took him upstairs, it's getting a little weird, and challenged him to a duel. Scott, tall guy, beat a hasty retreat. Well, that's
does
just
that
a
mean?
weird story.
Thank you to Angel
I
Rings. We didn't see it. I don't know what happens
I
with
wanna
the
see
gifts if
the,
anyone buys it. We don't get a notification. So thank
I
you
want to
for
see the
making that known.
biopic of Little Hobby O the Castleton,
Yeah.
starring Chris Pratt as Little Hobby O.
Chris Pratt, stop.
It'd be real wacky and hilarious.
So gets even better because apparently this part of England is weird. Child Ballad 40. The Queen of Elfland's Norreis depicts the abduction of a new mother, drawing on new folklore for the changelings that they're abducting the mom and not the baby at this point.
Oh shit! Wait, where are we at?
We're still in Low Scotland.
God damn. They
Yeah.
really they really digging it deep.
Although it is fragmentary, it contains the
Her
mother's
name is
grief
Casey Ann.
and the Queen of Elfland's promise to return her to her own child if she will nurse the Queen's child until it will walk. So once again,
Hell yeah.
changeling kids need people titty milk.
Bosoms.
Like the stem cells of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Mother's milk.
Mother's milk.
Well, let's go on over not too far to the Isle of Man.
Yes.
Isle of Man, which
Yo,
where
this is
Fairy
on-
Hill is, Flaming Fairy Hill is found. On the
So
Isle.
next-
I think this is the only isle, right?
Yep.
Of Man. So famous. They did Star Wars there, all kinds of things. So absolutely gorgeous. On my bucket list in Scotland. Okay,
Is this
that's
where
all I have
they
to say.
filmed stupid Luke Skywalker in the new one?
Yes.
He lived
Yes.
there.
Where
Okay.
he's holding out
Or-
he's just
Those movies are
where
terrible.
When he drinks blue milk out of a weird
What a
goat.
fucking horrible film.
Steals.
All right, sorry.
Yeah.
Are you serious right now?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
my
Don't get
God.
me started.
Oh my god, I'm ready to die.
I liked the one everyone hated the best.
Which was that?
The last Jedi, the last.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So we got a wide collection of myths, superstitions on the Isle of Man, and these concern, go figure, fairies. Fairies are the catch-all for anything unexplainable. It seems with these crazy British people, Scottish people, whatever, North Sea people of the North Sea.
White people.
And there's been numerous stories that have been collected that concern these supposed changelings. So, for example, Sophia Morrison wrote a few tales called Manx Fairy Tales. And this includes a tale of a fairy child of Closnile. I don't know what that means, but that's the name of the story. And this is a tale child that supposedly was swapped by fairies for a loud and unruly fairy child. So it's like the old reverse-aroo. Like, and this again, this reeks of we don't want to deal with our shitty child. We cannot be. This person could not have come from us. This is not our child. We're gonna adamantly convince ourselves of that and do what we have to do to expel the evil from our little hut in the woods or whatever. So the English poet and topographer George Waldron, who lived in the Isle of Man during the 18th century, cites a tale of a reputed changeling that was shown to him, possibly a child with an inherited genetic disorder. So yes, we're getting fucking like
Right back
dark and upsetting now again on this episode.
It's where we belong. We belong there.
So to
Dark and
quote,
upsetting.
nothing under heaven could be a more beautiful face, but though between 5 and 6 years old and seemingly healthy, he was so far from being able to walk or stand that he could not so much as move any one joint. His limbs were vastly long for his age, but smaller than an infant's. This kid just has like rickets or something. Right? Is that what rickets is?
Mm-hmm.
When you're all like feeble and lanky? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just may have made that up. His limbs were vastly long for his age, but smaller than an infant of 6 months. His complexion was perfectly delicate, and he had the finest hair in the world. He never spoke nor cried, ate scarcely anything, and was very seldom seen to smile. But if anyone called him a fairy elf, he would frown and fix his eyes so earnestly on those who said it, as it would look them through. His mother, or at least his supposed mother, being very poor, frequently went out charring. I think that just means gallivanting with the townsfolk. and left him a whole day together. The neighbors, out of curiosity, have often looked in the window to see how he behaved when alone, which whenever they did, they were sure to find him laughing at the utmost delight. Yeah, he was stoked that there weren't people around him neglecting and abusing him and making fun of him for being a fairy elf. So he's just like,
Exactly.
anytime I'm around people, it sucks. So if I'm alone, I'm just going to pretend like, anyway. This made them judge that he was not without company, more pleasing to him than any mortals could be. And what made this conjecture seem the more reasonable was that if he were left ever so dirty, the woman at her return saw him with a clean face and his hair combed with the utmost exactness and nicety. So she comes back and he's cleaned himself. Is that what that means?
That's what it sounds like.
If he were left ever so dirty. Oh yeah, so he was very self-reliant, abused, neglected child that got made fun of. He had the rickets, but he also had good hygiene, is what I'm gathering from this changeling story.
Is this where this comes from? The term of using fairy in a derogatory context? Do you guys think?
No, I think that came from soccer.
No, I feel like this is a start of it because this
Are you
is
talking about like
fairy
the gay
slander,
slur of fairy?
Just in general,
that's-
like using fairy as a derogatory term. I feel like this would be
Yeah.
the first time. It doesn't mean homosexual like it
I see what you're
does
saying.
today.
Like, yeah, I see what you're saying.
But it is technically kind of
I
like a
think it's-
slur, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that slur as we know it today is like. I think it's like its own thing too. So
Right.
but yeah, you're right.
Still, just like attaching.
Like you would probably call some weird looking kid a fairy or a what do they call them? A fairy something.
I don't.
A fairy elf.
Fairy elf.
Yeah, they were just people that looked different, is what I'm gathering from this, or acted different, or had some genetic disorder or disease. It's very awful. All of this is a terrible episode.
That's what I said in the beginning, that I was very sad, and I don't even have a huge maternal instinct, but when I was learning about all this, I actually felt gross for a while. I was like, holy shit.
I mean, I laughed at a lot of it, but
can we go to slide 15
okay.
real quick? Where did Jamie go?
We're like, okay.
She's coming back.
All right.
Well, it's just because the stories are so ridiculous. I mean, if you think about it.
We really don't need this slide.
Yeah. So this is Cornwall. I'm sorry, I didn't put your name on it. Do you want to read this one?
No, you go ahead and take this one.
All right, I'll let you.
I'm not. I don't have a child. That's why I said I don't have motherly instinct. I don't want kids. I don't have them. Don't want them. But I felt very uncomfortable and very bad learning about this.
Yeah, none of us have to worry about changelings because none of us have kids.
That's right.
Yet.
That's right.
I'm gonna adopt a changeling.
Hell yeah, me too.
Play the blues.
I want a really fucked up one.
So I'm sure you can find one in California. Won't be hard. So
yeah, you.
Cornwall, which is another place in England, the Men and Toll stones in Cornwall are said to have a fairy or pixie guardian who can make miraculous cures. In one case, a changeling baby was passed through the stone in order for the mother to have a real child returned to her. Evil pixies had changed her child, and the stones were able to reverse the spell.
Oh, shit.
Can you imagine trying to, like, push a kid through a stone wall?
But that makes sense, especially in that area. Like, the stones in general, you know, multiple different sacred stone areas were known to be portals, and they would come to and, you know, through. So that makes sense. But in that case, yeah, they're probably just beating them in.
Oh, yeah, they're just like, ugh.
No good.
No good. Well, this leads us to Changelings.
Did we already tour the world?
We did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So, Bobby, you are our kind of movie mogul.
Yeah.
Tell
Hit
us
it.
about
So,
changelings in the media.
I want to tell you, first off, the movie The Changeling, starring George C. Scott, is a very good movie, but it is not about these kind of changelings. So don't let the name fool you. However, what comes to mind to me when I think of changelings is a 1974 horror movie directed by my favorite schlock director, Larry Cohen. Did a trilogy, I think he did all three of them, called It's Alive. Now, what It's Alive is about is a nice young couple has a child, and that child starts murdering people
Hell yeah.
as it gets scared. So I'd like to just share my screen and show you what
Fuck
this
yeah.
child
Please.
looks
You
like.
should have hit the dun 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 next time.
Oh, did you want to do it now? Perfect.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Let me share my screen.
Well, I was
Yeah,
hoping in
nice.
the time it was taking to play it, Bobby would have a screen ready.
No, I don't know about these things.
Okay.
I don't know about these things.
Where is the screen?
Oh my god.
Present.
So this bunch of freaking boomers. That's what I got to say.
What is that? Oh no!
Bunch of boomers.
Bunch of boomers.
No, there's no.
Bunch of boomers.
Hold on a second. It's Chrome. It's Google Chrome.
I'm older than Bobby, and I know how to.
Hey, everyone, just shut your goddamn mouths, all right?
Hey, I'm the youngest one here, I think, but not really.
All right,
Jamie and I are
let me
basically
try a
the same
different
age.
browser. Actually, hold on. Sorry.
I don't think a
Talk
year
amongst
makes a
yourselves.
difference. I don't even think 2 years makes a difference.
We're
When
basically
you
almost in our 40s.
I feel no. I'm
just
my early 30s. Thank you very much.
I'm in my mid to late 30s is how I describe myself. Yeah. Because then when people look at me, they're like, oh my God, you look so young. And I'm like, I know.
I don't have to play that game.
Ooh, thanks.
I enjoy doing
Yeah,
it.
it's not going to let me share it. Just watch It's Alive from 1974. Watch all three of them, and then the third one
Just
they go to an
fucking share
island.
it. You can share
They go to
it.
an island full of killer baby monsters.
No, thank you.
Can I just
Look
send?
at-
Hold on. Let me send someone else the link
It's alive.
in the private chat here. You guys got to see this monster baby.
Does this look believable? I have only one pinky.
I'll pull it up.
I just put it in the private chat. Someone share that, please.
Oh,
Jane
Jesus
Fonda.
Christ.
You know what? I'm really confused about Jane Fonda because, like, on one hand, she's a right lady, but on the other hand, didn't she also kind of play us when it was like Vietnam and shit?
Hanoi
Thank
Jane.
you, David, for donating gifts to people of
Thank you,
memberships.
Davey.
So this.
Did it? Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
so that's the monster you're dealing with, and It's Alive. Watch all three of them. They're a lot of fun. It's just really raw, like kind of B-movie 70s schlock nonsense about a
hate that
killer
shit, man.
baby.
I think that all babies look like this. This is what all babies look like to me.
I know, it hits-
Personally, when I see babies, this is what I see every time I look at one. Everyone's like, oh my God, look at this cute baby. And I just want to be like, that baby's ugly and I hate it.
It kind of looks like a
Is there
water
a
head
more
or a
recent
melon
movie?
head.
Isn't there a more recent movie with Angelina Jolie called The Changeling about actual changelings?
Wait a second. With Angelina Jolie?
I don't know.
Jolie?
Yeah. Yes. 2008.
Let's check it
don't know.
out.
A grief-stricken mother, Christine Collins, takes on the LAPD to her own determent when they try to pass off an obvious imposter as her missing child. So I don't know if this is supernatural or whatever.
I remember this.
But ultimately,
No.
I think that kind of ties some loose ends here, though, because everything we've talked about is pretty explainable in real world terms, right? Like we've talked about everything from like child abandonment to like we can't, people giving their children to other families to like, genetic defects. Let's put them in the woods to like, crones out in the woods that want a baby of their own. The tooth fairy abortion theory.
That
And then,
baby
of
don't
course,
look like-
bullying and neglect of weird-looking children, and not wanting to come to terms with the fact that your kid that is not particularly desirable is your own child. So you
Exactly.
project some sort of supernatural justification onto it in order to deal with the fact that you will be abandoning and or murdering your child in the night. Or, like I said earlier, the other one is a way to cope with, maybe you got knocked up by someone that's not your husband. And it's like, sorry, this can't be our kid. It must be from the devil.
The devil.
And if it's not baptized, it is.
True that. I think one of the biggest things that would kind of like activate this type of thinking were instances where the parents just didn't feel, at least this is what I read overall, is that the parents just wouldn't feel like the child was their own, just overall. Maybe disconnected, or there's a weird feeling. They didn't sense that, I think everyone realizes in most cases that there's this like connection, this parental connection. It's like, maternal or maybe fraternal, depends, but you have a connection there.
Mm-hmm.
And in these cases, they were a lack of that. They just felt like this is something so foreign. This couldn't be mine. This is wrong. And this is why I thought earlier, like postpartum. This is so like postpartum and just overall depression all in one, because this still happens to this day. Like women, so many women experience this. And it's like, of course, like they feel guilty. They feel bad because we don't understand necessarily, but this is a factual mental illness that we have to deal with.
I'm laughing at Danielle's comment.
Oh, and now there's help, there's support groups, and then you realize, okay, I shouldn't. I feel so bad that I want to like hurt this baby, but then back in the day, they're just like, must be the fucking devil. It must be this. It must be that. Because why else would I feel this way? Because it doesn't make sense. It's just like a lack of medical understanding, a lack of legitimate knowledge that we have now, where they just ran with wild ideas.
Yeah, where they did crazy shit like cook meals and eggs to get it to talk about acorns in the fucking forest.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
I mean,
this really made child abandonment fun.
That's what we do here.
It's really sad to me to think of all of the babies that went through all of these crazy things that they would do, like put them outside in a storm where it's like, many degrees below and it's storming, and they think they can just leave the child out there. And when the storm passes, then hopefully the changeling will have left the building, but obviously not. They still are left with the baby, and most likely the baby's probably dead by then. It's a severe case of like child abuse in the name of something mystical.
Right. And, a lot of this, I mean, I think we should probably go to the scale. Like, I think we're getting into that point to where we're going to start forming opinions.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So, I guess I'll go first.
Okay. Respect.
So, a lot of this, I think it comes from one, like what Bobby said, like maybe there was a little bit of a side game going on, and they were kind of like, oh, this ain't my kid. But Bree, you're not entirely wrong with the postpartum depression thing and like people just being fucked up. And like we talked about, of how this might have just been a way that people dealt with children with mental disabilities, hundreds of years ago, before there was modern medicine or anything like that, or any understanding of what's going on in psychology and things like that. So I'm gonna give this like a split decision.
Is that a middle bitch?
I don't think it's changelings in the way of fairies replace my kids as much as I think this is people figuring out how to cope with mental illness and birth deformities and genetic disorders, and they use that as an excuse, and changelings was what they came up with. And they came up with some sick shit to try to, force an explanation for it.
I'm going to go next, and I'm going to hard sci-fi it because I think it is exactly what you're talking about. I think what we have here, unfortunately, like we do with a lot of cryptids, there was an issue and a problem within the community, so they created a monster around that issue in order to excuse it or cover it up. And I think that this is just another tall tale sign of the cryptids that we've run into, and we just have society using this as a scapegoat for not wanting and not bonding with children.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think of it's almost like the Christian upgrade in rationalization from like the former, I guess, like pagan or ancient world's version of child sacrifice. Like, yes, these people seemingly did believe in that they were sacrificing things to some sort of entity. But I think that, like you said, people fall on hard times or whatever, or you have a family member that's not equipped to survive in the world and it's a burden on the family. I think a lot of that stuff can be twisted and used to justify certain things. And the other thing I want to bring up too is, and I'm going to say this as delicately as possible, especially in the cases where people are like, oh, like it was my child one day, and then all of a sudden the child was different and it wasn't acting like a normal child anymore. A lot of people theorize that could be something to do with like autism as well, because they didn't have diagnosis for that at the time.
Sure.
I'm just like, it is what it is. That's one theory behind it. And then all the things we've already mentioned, like I'm gonna actually hard sci-fi this because I don't think that this is any kind of human trafficking fairies and trolls in the woods, or it could be people doing that. But that's the point, is like, I think it's all explainable by several different possibilities. And yeah, this was a dark one.
Mm-hmm. All right, Brie, what about you?
I'm probably gonna say sci-fi. I leave room for there to be like a potential that maybe some entity, takes hold of a child. I wouldn't rule that out as a possibility, but when it comes to the overall folklore of the changelings, I do think that it was really unfortunate for a lot of these babies that were born under certain circumstances that were incredibly overlooked from a basic lack of understanding and knowledge that we have now. That and I also feel for these people. I mean, imagine a world where there isn't even like birth control, so no matter what, maybe every time you get pregnant something happens, and then you're just like, fuck, another one, and you're already like looking at it as like, this is already like, I already don't want you, kind of thing. I think that adds a whole nother layer on it. And it's really hard for me to imagine a world where even if we gave them a bunch of excuses for like, religious reasons or whatever, that is still a child no matter what. And to sit there and watch the horrific things that they did to them and be okay with that in the name of like, it could be a changeling from the fucking fairies. Like that just, to me, is just like really hard to swallow. It's just like, I just don't understand how people could do something like that. Again, I'm not from that time, so of course it's different now. But I just see it as like horrific and scapegoat, like JAIMIE said. And it's a really fucking wild time to try to envision an entire like major chunk of time where this happened all over.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if there are still other parts in the world, like in like little crevices where they still pull that kind of shit. I don't know.
Probably.
Oh, of course there are.
I was like, probably. That's just human nature, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you read about it on the news every few years. You got like the Casey Anthony case, and then like you always hear about like women drowning their babies in bathtubs and stuff.
Yep.
That's one day.
Yeah, there's all sorts of wild shit out there.
There's some sort of wild mental illness stuff that still goes on.
There's a lot of people whose grown children, like, they have mental breaks and they think that their kids are like being possessed by the devil or some shit. Like, all sorts of crazy things fucking happen still to this day. I just think that
sometimes that's true though.
it's just, yeah, right. It's just not, I think maybe it's just not happening more on a larger scale. That's why you're not hearing about it, or it's not necessarily newsworthy. The news isn't getting a hold of those kind of scenarios and cases and things.
It's I think this all boils down to like what lens and what like contextual paradigm people of the time view this action as. So it's like it's different today because we have seemingly more scientific explanations, or we have labels for certain conditions, and we've evolved past like, you know, we have abundance. So we have ways in which to provide for like less capable people and things like that. But and then conversely, throw communities of back in the day that are literally like having kids more or less to have more farm workers and whatnot. And
if
then
they're lucky to have a farm.
Then you throw the more spiritual, you know, esoteric lens on it, or more, you know what I'm trying to say, like more religion-based lens of this situation. It's like it's the same thing, just with different paradigms.
For sure. It's, oh man, I don't know. I imagine also when those things happen, you feel shame. So like maybe you give birth to someone, a more physically challenged individual, and maybe you feel the shame of that. So the easier way is to just be like, it was taken by a changeling. I gave birth to it and it was perfect. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this thing popped up here in this crib here. But then the guilt you must feel when you actually heat the fire and you put the baby in the basket and you move that basket over the fire and you just wait for the baby to burn.
Well, I think a lot of the times other people are doing it for them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's the mom itself pushing into the fucking fire. I'm sure it's just somebody from the family.
You let's put that up against like how did we try to identify witches? It's like even if you do conclude that it's not a real witch, you've pretty much killed it at that point.
You've gone too far,
So you're like two birds with one stone. It's like, well, what's the real motive behind this this method to find out if it's a changeling or a witch or whatever? It's like,
because the end game was always to get rid of it,
or is it really to like get rid of it, right? So I don't know.
All right, guys. Well, this was a fun episode. If you thought this one was dark, our show on Thursday, Uninformed, and will get darker. If you want to talk about childhood trauma, that show's full of it.
No, that's not true.
Oh, well, it could be hot dogs or a sandwich, or it could be...
Yeah, it could be like, how do you feel about froyo over ice cream? Like, you don't fucking know.
You never know.
You never know what's going on.
Does anyone else have any final thoughts before I hit that video?
Yeah, I want to say...
Okay, go for it.
Ladies first.
Thanks. I just want to say thanks to everybody for watching, and UAP Chinese Balloon Lover is here. That's a great name.
It's a great one.
Just go ahead, leave us a comment to help us with the algorithm to help this show, grow even further, so more people can be traumatized to the shit that we talk about on this show. Because this is what we do all the time.
I'm almost at the point of giving up. I got to tell you. I'm at my giving up point. So
you picked this one.
I'm going to pick last week Cryptid for my
It was like next week it's more fun.
Yeah.
No. I'm saying podcasting in general. Like, we've hit this weird cap of just like not being shown to the world. We're like here, and then all of a sudden we went, ew.
Oh, I know.
And it's just like, what's the fucking point? Like nobody.
Go outside, touch grass, listen to the Not For Everyone podcast. That's my show. We talk about weird cult horror movies and things like that. If you're into that kind of thing. Also,
Movies.
like if you think this show is dark and offensive, my show is like trigger warning. Like it's not for everyone. That's what it's called. It's called
it's
Not
for
For
you.
Everyone podcast, starring me and my buddy talking smack.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, it's great. All right. We love you guys. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Deuces.
Have a
Sorry.
lovely night.